Last week on the Al Nicoletti Show. Let's welcome him to the show. Rob, what's going on, man?
What is going on, dude? It's so good being here, man. It's very hard to control your body language and control a conversation. The loudest voice is always going to be the internal voice. The reason people sell to us is going to be because we take the time to find what underlying issues are really happening. It's not about manipulation. It's not about any of that. It's about understanding. One of the things that I'm working on right now is being present in the now. I'm always forward thinking. Always, overachievers and, that sort of thing. Always forward thinking.
I 100% agree with you. That's something I've even worked on in the last year. Just really being present. When you're at the restaurant, you're at the restaurant. When you're at the movies, you're at the movies. Nothing else comes in. Don't check anything. And that is a huge point.
Level 3 listening is somebody saying something and then you're absolutely not paying attention. Level 2 listening is when we're paying enough attention just to come back with a rebuttal. And then level 1 listening, it's when we see ourselves as spectators.
That's a tough concept for people.
Man, it sounds like I'm in kindergarten every time I say it. The feet are always going to tell you where somebody's mind wants to go.
What are we looking for?
Where are the feet pointing at?
Oh.
You may be standing right in front of somebody else. And if their feet are pointing towards, the door or the window, their torso may still be facing you, right? Like, trust me, that's where they want to go. Like, their attention is that way. You lost them.
Is there no way to bring the feet back in?
If you hook them, back up on something interesting, right?
Rafael Cortez, everybody. I mean, this was great. Okay, I love seeing those recaps, right? Because if you missed any of the episode from last week and you're just tuning in now, boy, you missed a good one with Raf. He dropped so many gems on psychology and what to look for, what you're thinking, and how you can leverage that for real estate deals, negotiations, sellers, talking with people. That's big stuff. So if you missed any of that, go back to last week's episode. Go check that out with Rafael Cortez. And if you love all the content that you're watching on the show, whether it's probate, quiet titles, partitions, or even the amazing guest that we have on the Al Nicoletti Show, make sure you check out all the social channels. We always put the link tree up that'll have all the social channels. So make sure you scan it. You'll get all the content right there. Instagram, YouTube, you name it. And we have all that. And we have a great guest coming on tonight. I love talking about land. It's the hottest trend right now. I feel like it's the hottest topic, something that we always talk about in the law firm because it keeps coming up with probates. And you're going to love what Ray Jang talks about when it comes to land. And I got to tell you some opening thoughts. And that is, I know whether you're a beginner or intermediate and maybe even advanced, there's a lot of different concepts and different things that you come across in business or real estate that seems daunting, seems complicated. And a lot of times there's that mental block before even trying to get into that niche or get into or understanding a concept. And you get that feeling of like, you don't know if you can make the leap. You don't know if like you can really get into it because you don't know enough about it or you're not sure what to know. And that's where I'd say for opening thoughts is it's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay to not know what you don't know. But until you make that leap, until you try to get into that niche, until you listen to the experts that know that niche well and are able to say, hey, this is how you do it, it'll make all the difference. Take a step back, feel uncomfortable, because once you go into it, then you will feel comfortable. And then you're going to be a machine. You'll be a beast at it. So just embrace feeling uncomfortable when you dive into things. It's going to be okay. And I got to say, I'm excited. Another night in the Al Nicoletti studio. We are live. I got my pen. I got my pad ready to go. And for all the people that are watching, if you're watching live, make sure to interact. We love when we get the fans, followers interacting, asking questions, commenting, dropping loves, likes, you name it. We're here for you. We want to give back to you. So I'm ready to get going. Another Wednesday night at 9 p.m. Let's rock this thing. Hey, everybody. My name is Al Nicoletti. I'm an attorney here in Florida. And welcome to the Al Nicoletti Show, where I bring on real estate super investors, rising rock stars, movers and shakers, and leaders of clubs in their communities that educate, entertain, and inspire all things on Florida real estate and bring in the best in the industry all over the country. The best, the experts, the ones that are driving it home in their business, whether it's marketing, real estate, commercial, Airbnb, pad split, all these things, you name it. We're bringing the best in the industry on how you can take your company to the next level. On my show tonight, I got Ray Jang. He is going to do a masterful job at land flipping simplified. I love it. I love that topic. I love land. It's a hot trend right now. You don't want to miss this. And we're going to dive into his story and some of the best tips that you can get into when going into land. So without further ado, let's welcome Ray to the show. Ray, brother.
That's awesome. Oh, you gave me more energy right now.
Good.
Awesome.
I always need the energy at 9 p.m. It's crazy. It's good seeing you, man.
Good to see you. You know, it's always a pleasure to see people like you full of energy and deliver a lot of value to a lot of listeners, right?
Thank you, Ray. I appreciate that. That's the whole goal, right? Give back to the community. And I got to say, it's crazy. The last time we were with each other, we were making a TikTok talking about probate and land. So great memories seeing you at Family Mastermind. It was wild.
Absolutely.
Ray, for those that don't know, I wanted to do just a small segment for people that don't know who you are on your backstory of like how you got into land, because it was a really interesting clip that we made in March back at Family talking about that. So just a 5-minute, like, where were you before? Like, how did you get into it?
Actually, this month is my number 12th year to move to this country. I came from China originally. And when I first came here, I became homeless and lived in the car for a couple of months. And I started to flip a lot of different things. I think that long period of time built my negotiation skill and how to talk to people. And of course, practice my English, right? But so over the years, I've flipped free couches, free mattress. And then I kind of go to flip cars. And eventually I start to flip land. But this process lasts about 6 years until about 5 years ago, I started to do land flipping.
Wow. Yeah. Crazy story. And I know you were telling me like how you weren't doing any of this before. I couldn't remember exactly what you were doing, but then all of a sudden you read that book and then all of a sudden you were making all the money and you like a 10x all, your income. And it was like a crazy journey for you. It's really wild story. But Ray, you're heavily inland. For those that don't know, Ray is big on TikTok. I think I was talking to somebody too recently, and I was like, "Do you know that Ray Jang guy on the land guy?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, I've seen him on TikTok." I'm like, "Wow, hey, you're doing the right thing, man."
Okay.
But Ray, let's dive into land flipping simplified, right? And we have the 7 different ways that you can make land flipping simple. Let's talk about them. Choosing a market. How do you know what kind of market you should invest in or get into or research when it comes to land flipping?
So first of all, we need to understand the foundation of real estate. The foundation of real estate follows people. The more people are in the area, the real estate generally will go up. And if the real estate value goes up, more people will start to buy them. So that's why we only go to states that more people are moving into. And for example, California, New York, New Jersey, probably not a good market for me. And that's the first thing. A second thing, you don't want to go to the too crowded cities. Something like Dallas, right? Or Orlando. Those are too crowded. You have to spend more, you have to mail more to get a deal. So where we go to is the secondary markets, somewhere around 30 minutes to 2 hours away from that major growing city. And once that major growing city start to get packed, and the growth will expand. And that's why our strategy works both ways. Either you hold it, you get a phenomenal return, or you sell it right away, you can get at least 100% return. So for example, I moved to Jacksonville. Jacksonville is not really considered a big major growing city by then, about 2 years ago. So I bought some land for a few thousand. Sometime I pay more than 10 grand for a land. So that was about half of the market value by then. But right now the market 4 times more, about 400% return on that market price, but I bought it half of the current market price by then. So I get at least about 600 or 700% return on just holding it.
That's amazing. I mean, yeah, and how you were able to weigh what to do with it, whether to unload it right away or hold it. I mean, you didn't really know if it was going to turn out that way. It just seemed to turn out that way by holding it, and then it worked out better, right? Um,
Absolutely.
let's back up. So, what are some of your favorite states to do land flipping in?
So the something like Florida, Texas, South Carolina, North Carolina, Colorado, Arizona, Arkansas, Oklahoma, all this area, Tennessee, that are growing. Especially Florida and Texas is my jam. I love them.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. You're in the right market. I know that.
Yeah.
And like you said, like you're focused on the areas that are like 30 minutes to 2 hours from the metro areas. Are you doing like any kind of like on the ground research on what's happening in those developments? Like, for example, um, almost picked up a probate deal about 2 years ago, and it was a land lot on the west side of Florida, but it was not near a major city. It was I think it was east of one of the interstates, but it was a huge lot. But I mean, it was nowhere near anything, and nobody knew what was going on except for maybe a couple people that lived there. Do you have to do some on ground research to find out maybe what's going on, like from other people there?
Absolutely. We do online on ground research. I I never go to any city to just research the area. So
Yeah.
thanks for the technology. If you go to Google Map, it's pretty updated. You can see if there's houses built nearby, that's a clear sign that area is growing. If there's pretty raw, nothing, nearby, that might take up a couple of years to grow. So clear sign, there's some houses nearby and there's power nearby and there are some shops nearby. That's even better because people open their shops when there's people there, right?
Right, of course. What about the type of land, like the zoning for that land? Do you go after a type or just really anything? So, like whether it's zoned commercial, zoned multifamily, zoned mixed use, or are you just going after a certain type of zoning?
I only go to residential lots right now, and I hold some commercial ones, something like commercial multifamily. I'm negotiating another agricultural one in Texas. So those ones are good buy and hold, and because it's huge, right? And the residential really is a way that you can generate a lot of cash from it.
Got it. Yeah, I know that a lot of people go towards the residential zone, but I've also recently heard about like the multifamily too being like a big
Yeah,
opportunity in certain areas because there's just so much. There's certain areas that are saturated, but then there's other growing areas and there's different zones for things. So good
absolutely.
good point on that. So okay, so now that you've chosen your market, now that you've picked, like, let's just say you wanted to go to Polk County, right, in Florida, because that's a growing county, but it's away from metros. What's the next step? How are you making offers on land flipping?
This is my favorite part. So because I run my business pretty lean because of this part, and if you have a lot of offers going out, it's just like your small armies for you, right? For example, we only do a letter with an offer on it, and specifically how to do it is first of all, I never go to subdivisions that don't have a sold. I don't want to risk my money.
Mhm.
So if I go to a subdivision that has a recent sold, and then I want to calculate what is the price per acre sold price for that subdivision, and then we offer about 40 to 55%. So when we send it out and people get the offer, they have two ways to call us back. I mean, they call us back and because of two reasons. First of all, they like our offers, they want to proceed, and then we accept the offer, but we negotiate again. We never do the price on the offer letter. That might sound very odd, but we always can be able to negotiate a little bit less. So second kind of people call us back, they normally just curse on us, right? And that's my stress releaser. I will curse back, do whatever I want, And
I like to hear you
so
do that.
yeah, so those are just two kinds of people call us back. And think about it, if you can offer someone half of their value for the land, if they are willing to call you back and still want to sell their land, they're already very motivated. And then
Mhm.
on top of that, we negotiate again, so we can be able to get the land super super cheap. And a lot of people say, okay, land is easy to buy, hard to sell. I would argue is because they probably don't know what they're doing. You know, if they know exactly what they're doing, they can buy the land extremely cheap. And then when they sell it, we market it as the lowest in the whole subdivision. So
Mhm.
if there's another sell, that'll be us.
Got it. So when it comes to negotiating, when you make the offer and you're negotiating with the sellers, whether they own it themselves or maybe it's a probate situation with heirs, um, what have been some of the what's been some of the feedback on the negotiation? Is it always price with land for them, or are there some other things that that you've heard sellers talk about where it's not just about price in the negotiation?
It's almost nothing to do with price. So, for example, if I like you too much, I'm willing to give it to you for free. I got a couple of land for free last year. So, the way to talk to people and plus follow up is the same scenario. You don't want to talk about the price all the time. If you talk about the price all the time, it's just like you go to the flea market and try to bargain, right? So bargain is different than negotiation. So negotiation comes from a person. You care about them. You care about what's going on in their life. Why do they want to sell the land? What's the pain, right? What's the pleasure after they sold the land? So you want to find those out, and then you talk to different people with different kind of conversation. So a lot of people ask me, including my student, they say, Ray, do you have a script when you talk to people? So this unique thing about us is we don't have a script. How do you script anyone or everybody into one simple script, right?
Right.
So every conversation is different. For example, if I talk to you, I'd be like, "Hey, how do you grow your beard?" I never be able to grow my beard, right? So now I'm asking your questions, and
Right.
you instantly feel better about yourself,
Right.
right? So that's how you negotiate. It's nothing to do with the land. And when you follow up, it's the same thing. And a lot of time we follow up something like, "Hey, are you ready to sell today?" If you keep saying that, people will reject that, and eventually they will stop answering your phone. And the thing we follow up is we talk about the thing we mentioned last time. For example, last time you mentioned a dog, right? And this time you asked about their dog, right? And at the end of the conversation, they will eventually bring up the price.
Mhm.
Do you think people don't know why you call them? They absolutely know.
Right. They just want you to generate that conversation. They want someone to talk to about what's going on, not just with the price or the land, but other things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you make it that feel good conversation, which is a great point too, because you're not dealing with a house, you're not dealing with a structure, you're
Mhm.
dealing with just land. So it has that non emotional part of it.
Yeah.
That there's no attachment to it. So, like, you would think it'd be about price, but it's still about that seller. It's still about that person that has those
Mhm.
points that they wanna talk about. Have you ever had any, crazy stories when making negotiations? Like, have you ever had somebody that really gave you a wild trip just going back and forth?
Yeah, there's a lot of different kind of people. For example, a couple of months ago, one of the questions I always ask is, what's the best you can do, right? Some seller go back and say, you send me the offer letter. How much you can do? I normally just say, I'm a land investor. If you want to do, I can do $1, right? So, and then there's a guy said, $1? Let's do it. So I got the
Yeah.
land for $1. So there are a lot of different people, and you said very correctly, people don't have emotion attached to their land, but more than that, some people has emotional negatively about their land, so they don't like it. They hate it. So that's why they're willing to let it go for so little.
Mm, got it. Yeah, we see so many sellers that need probate done and they didn't even know about the land. They had no idea it even existed. And they get to a point where they don't even want to deal with it anymore. Or we get the other kind of heirs that they've been paying the taxes on it for years and they're just done. And then they're asking themselves, they're like, why am I still paying taxes? I don't know.
Absolutely.
Why are you doing it? So
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a fun conversation. If you get a really good rapport with the seller on the phone, like having that good conversation with them to get pricing and all that. But let's talk about marketing.
Mm.
So a lot of investors love doing, I mean, now they love doing it like inbound leads with Google PPCs, Facebook ads. But there's still the traditional outbound with cold calling, maybe you name it. Who knows what everybody's doing with that? But a lot of land flippers love direct mail. And it's you're not mailing the land, you're mailing the out of state owners wherever they are, but something with direct mail seems to sit right with land. And you love that too. Why?
I love it because you mentioned a word which is super important to me: simple. Right? I'm a simple guy. Maybe I'm stupid. I don't know, but I don't want to do complicated things. And when your business is simple, you can duplicate. That's why McDonald's, you see them everywhere, right? And imagine you have 100 burgers in McDonald's, and it's really hard to duplicate. So the reason why I don't do cold calling, testing, emailing, or PPC or PCC, whatever it's called, I I want to just send it out and they decide they call back to me, right? So if imagine I have to call a lot of people in this one particular county. Right now, I'm in 40 different counties. I cannot just call them all day long. And even I hire people, I don't know what they're doing, right?
Right.
So I trust direct mail. First of all, I trust them. Secondly, it make the process so simple. I just click some buttons and someone else just follow the letter, whatever they're doing, and they get it out to the landowners.
Yeah. I'm always fascinated when I hear an heir tell me like, oh yeah, they found me through direct mail. Or I keep getting all these letters in the mail, and I'm like, oh, so you're reading them, so you're getting them. They're hitting you at the
Absolutely.
right address.
Yeah.
They're getting your attention. I mean, they'll say like, hey, one person offered this, another person offered this, and I'm like, wow, because I'm sure we have some big timers on that are watching. I see Joe Roig, the greats, watching right now. I love that he's watching. Joe's huge on land. And you have these big guys like Joe. Like I know Joe probably loves doing direct mail, but I'm sure cold call as well. And phone works. But I'm always fascinated about direct mail and the power that it has reaching people that may have never even known about this.
Yeah.
Or or I'm sure, Ray, do you ever put the price on the letter?
Always, all the time. Only I put the price on there. And another thing I love about direct mail is if they're not interested in selling their land, they got all these letters. The secret is they think all these letters are from one guy. Why this Ray guy always mail me, right?
Yeah.
So as a matter of fact, I just mailed them the first time, but they think this Ray guy keep mailing me and want to get my land. I went to the point that because people's situation change and they come to a point that they want to sell, and they were like, okay, maybe I'll just call this Ray guy, right? And
Yeah.
some other people already did the work for you, right?
Yeah.
When you cold call, you have to introduce yourself, your company, and sometimes they think you're a different company, right?
Yeah. They'll hold on to your letter. They will. Like 9 months
Yeah.
later, these people will just all of a sudden say, "I'm ready now," or, "We can do it."
I
Uh,
still get calls after 2 years. Another thing about your number is never change it. People will call you.
mm, keep your number. That's another tip, right, Ray? Keep
Absolutely.
keep that number and that line open.
Yeah.
I love Teresa. I love when you're watching Teresa. She said, "Virtual and simple equals land." I love it. That's a good one
Absolutely.
right there. So, okay, so we've done the marketing, right? We love the mailer part. Now it comes to they're interested, you get them under contract, you got their attention, now evaluating the land. And I'm really interested to hear about this. So, Ray, how do you go about evaluating land when it comes to land flipping?
Yeah, so we have a lot of layers. So first of all, I want to look at the assess value. Every land has a assess value. This is a general rule. All the market value is higher than the assess value. So if your land is assessed for 10,000, your market price is typically over that. So my thought process is if I could get the land under or maybe even half of the assess value, I'm guaranteed to earn some money, right? So that's the first thing I look at. And second thing, I want to look at what is for sale right now. And if everybody is posting a land for sale, I want to be the cheapest when I acquire that, right? So I want to look at what is the cheapest for sale right now. And then I will just have a mental note. Okay, the cheapest is 15,000. When I sell it, maybe I want to list it for 14,000. And then you compare that to your purchase price to see if your purchase price making sense. But the most important thing is the sold price. And I want to see similar size, similar condition. Let's say you said a landlocked. I want to find another landlocked, same size, similar size. I want to see how much exactly that one was sold. And normally there are a lot of sold nearby. Again, I want to see what is the cheapest sold. I even call the realtors who list that land. I want to ask them, hey, you sold the land so cheap than anybody else. So what is the reason? Is that because of the land problem? Or because the area has some problem? If they say, oh, the land has some problem, there's a lot of growing trees, there's a river crossing the land. Okay, no worries. I'm fine. But if he says, okay, the reason why this land sold for so cheap because the area is dropping in price, that might, worry me a little bit. And I want to imagine that's the sold price for me in the future. And I want to compare that to my purchase price.
Got it. So making sure you really are doing your comps in the area,
Yep.
and then asking those questions with other people that are seeing that market shift, maybe even get better or not get better. And maybe you thought it was going to be good. And then when you
Absolutely.
ask those questions, it's a different story. So let's break this down because you brought up some things in my head. Let's talk about landlocked.
Mm.
So I remember I saw a deal one time about a year ago. Great deal, a lot of potential, great area, but there was no path, there was no easement in or out. I think there was somebody on one side, there was somebody on another. If the deal is worth it and it's an area that works, how do you navigate through a landlocked situation?
In most of the states, landlocked is not permitted. The city have to give you access. But here's what I thought. I used to think, or I used to tell people, do not ever buy landlocked. You never know how much you're going to go to sell. And now I changed my mindset because one of my friends reached out to me and he's like, Ray, you're teaching people wrong stuff. I was like, what's wrong? I became very defensive. And he said, you can absolutely buy and sell landlocked and make a lot of money. And I said, do you have any example you did it yourself? Don't tell me, don't buy landlocked or buy
Yeah.
landlocked if you haven't done a deal, right? So he said, yeah, exactly. He has this deal. He sent the offer letter for 13,000, and then the lady call him back, very excited to sell him this land, and he was like, "There must be something wrong with the land right now." So he checked the land. Sure enough, that's a 3-acre land in Texas, landlocked property.
Mm.
And then he told the lady, "I'm so sorry, we cannot buy the land. This is a landlocked. We normally can only pay a few hundred for land like this." And he thought that was it. And the lady said something so beautiful. The lady said, "How many hundreds?" And he got it for $500.
Wow.
And he sold to the exact neighbor for $35,000.
Oh.
Right. So that story can change my mind drastically. So right now I tell people you can buy landlocked, you can buy wetland, you can buy slope land only in 2 conditions. Number one is there is some similar lot sold nearby, right? And if you see a landlocked sold nearby, that's a proof that you can buy your land. But now you can change that obstacle to opportunity. You can talk to the seller and negotiate even harder, right? And second way is you can buy those land is you are willing to risk your investment. For example, I post a video on TikTok. It went viral, about 900,000 views.
I'm not surprised.
So I bought this land for $2,000 in St. Lucie County. St. Lucie County is
Oh, yeah.
is growing, right?
Oh, yeah.
And there was absolutely no road to it, and it's all dirt road. I think the developer eventually gave up developing those areas. And after I post that video, I said I bought it for $2,000, and all this comment came in, right? Ray, you got scammed. There's no way you can sell that land. There's a wetland area. I used to live in that area. I was like, whatever, $2,000, right? And I post that land for sale for 10,000. We sold it in 3 hours for 10,000.
Really?
Right? And it's very easy, but that's the second way you can buy a land you're not sure. You're willing to risk it.
Right. Yeah. So just when you think it might be a dead deal because of some weird issue, maybe there's a different way to navigate through it, or a different channel to see, hey, could we go to this person, or maybe there's somebody else that's really interested in it from this place. That's interesting. Environmental. So you brought up wetlands, right? That kind of covered the wetland portion. I know there's certain parts of Florida where there's like endangered species, or there may be environmental issues from things in the past. How do you navigate through those? Because, like, for example, I know there's certain parts in Florida where there's like a certain type of bird and it's nested there, right? Or a certain type of critter and it's nested there. But in the next lot, it's not. And then in the next lot, there's an eagle's nest or some kind of bird's nest that's endangered. Like, if it's a great lot, how do you figure that part out?
Yeah, I think you're talking about Lee County or Charlotte County in Florida. So about 30% of Florida land is wetland, right? So you cannot avoid it. But here's the thing: some people love wetland. What do, right? So one thing to remember is you are not the market. What you don't like might be someone's favorite thing to do, right? And some landowners want to buy a wetland and they can shoot ducks on top of it, right? You never know. So first of all, figure out what you are buying. You don't want to buy without the knowledge. There's wetland checker. You can Google it and you can find exactly if the land is covered with wetland. If you find out that's a wetland, and that's the opportunity to make a lot of money because you can negotiate with the seller. Looks like this is a wetland right now. Yeah, I'm not sure how much you can do for this land. What's the best you can do?
Right. Yeah. I know, because some of those require permits, and some of them cost like $3,000 or $4,000 depending on like what it is. So like that's another factor that probably comes into negotiation. Like, you made the offer, you got under contract. Oh, we just discovered this by evaluating the land. That happens too. What about title issues as well that come up? So you've evaluated the land, but you've only done that on a physical end. You haven't evaluated it on a title end. What have been some of the ways you navigate through that? Like, have you seen anything weird? I'm sure you've come across like probates and stuff like that, but like, lien issues, judgments, because if a judgment's big enough on a land deal, it kills the deal, right? We all know that land deals are the tightest deals with real estate. So how do you fix that?
So I heavily use the title company to figure it out. I don't try to be the expert of it, because one small thing can ruin the deal. Maybe you hold the land forever. For example, my friend bought the land from this company and he was so happy. He said, I'm not going to use the title company because I want to save some title company fees. So he bought it from this guy who claimed to be the member from the LLC. So after he purchased it, he gave the money to the seller. After a few weeks, the website changed names. He became the owner, and the company is still the owner. And he tried to find out what's wrong, and end up finding out there are two owners in the company. The other guy don't even know this guy want to sell the land. So you got to use the title company to clear all those potential red flags. And sometimes even title company messed it up, right? For example, I have a deal. Turns out the father and the son has the exact same name.
Oh, yeah.
And the son I find that out. I look at the deed. I was like, this guy I'm talking to is about 30 years old, but he's on the deed. It says that land was purchased in 1960 something, right? I was like, there's something wrong. So let me use a title company. So the title company didn't find out. I mean, they sent the deed to the seller, and the seller got it notarized and sent it back, and the land is mine. But when I try to sell it, and the other title company, the buyer's title company, find it out, and then the first company refund all my money, including the purchase price.
Yeah. I've seen
No.
a few of those lately with the same name and there's no middle name. So then you can't tell, was it like the sister, was it the son? And like some of these families have like same names, right? So
Yeah.
that's a crazy story that you came across, Ray. Uh it really interesting. I think that you have to evaluate like title, you have to evaluate environmental issues that come up. Now, what about negotiation on the land? What is this important step when it comes to land flipping simplified?
This is extremely important, and your profit will be directly connected to negotiation. And we have 13 different principles. So I teach people about how to negotiate. So the big three is the first of all is when you buy something, you don't want to be super excited, right? The more excited you are, the less likely they're going to give you a discount. So instead of trying to push, we want to pull back. And that's a huge mistake a lot of new investors make. They're like, I already invest in this mentorship. I already sent a lot of mailers. I better get some deals from it. So what they do is they kind of convince or try to convince the seller. Can you do this? Can you do that price? And what about I pay this? Can you do this price? That's not what you want to do. Instead, just pull back and sit tight and ask the seller, tell him what's wrong with the land and act as if you don't want it and try to have him convince you. And that's another different situation, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
And
Ray,
yeah, go ahead.
Let me ask you. Let's say you're deep in. You've evaluated the land. You're deep in. You're past a negotiation. You came down to a number, but all of a sudden they're getting people reaching out with higher numbers. How do you
So,
handle that?
so it's about the connection, right? And this happen every single time when you have a strong connection. That's why we talk about that at the beginning of the show. You want to connect with the people, and it's not about the price anymore. They're like, okay, this Ray guy can close very fast. This Ray guy is really friendly, and he can talk about something in my life, and he can pay cash for the land. I'm just going to stay with him, right? Because here's the thing: people hate change, people hate new things, right? And if you can have them, kind of connect to you to a level, and they're not going to change another one, right? It's just like marriage. Do you think after marriage you'll not see another beautiful girl other than your wife? Of course you will, right? But I'm committed to her, so I gotta stay with her, right? So that's how it goes.
I'm not married, so you go ahead and explain. I'm not doing that to myself. I gotcha. I know it makes sense, right? I completely understand because like that happens to a lot of people in deals where you get to the end and then all of a sudden, oh, I'm getting a higher number, right? And then what does everybody do? So it is about the strong connection. Now, when you get into these land deals, I know you strongly like using VAs when it comes to this. So, what's the role with a VA in land flipping?
They help me choose the market. They help me make offers. That's it. And I do the negotiation myself. And after I acquire the land, I send it to the title company. They close it, and then I list it with the realtor. So if you think about this process, the reason why it's simple is it doesn't require you to do a lot of work, right? You send out the offer out, that's it, and then you negotiate. That might take a lot of time, maybe 2 to 3 hours a day. And after you send it to the title company, they will close it for you. There's nothing you need to do, and then the realtor will sell it for you. You just wait for email or text message saying, "Hey Ray, your land is under contract right now."
Easy as that.
Easy,
Yeah.
very easy.
And it's what are the costs involved with that?
About the title company?
No, just the VAs.
Oh, I might be, sued for saying this, but I pay him $2 an hour.
But the point
So
is,
not so
it's
much.
low cost, right? It's
Very low cost. Yeah.
right. It low
Yeah.
cost to being able to get the work done. So you're not having to pay high salary amount, right? Like you're
Yeah.
leveraging that. I don't know if whether it's overseas or not. I know there's so many different VAs and VA companies, but being able to leverage that to scale your land flipping business and keep the cost low as well, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's huge. Now, this has to be the most interesting part. I think it was the most interesting part for me when we were talking about this, which is okay. Like in the beginning, you had two choices. You either keep the land, hold on to it long term, and maybe that market's just popping, like you said, it was like 400%, 700%, and just so happens like you're just going to keep that land and profit from that, or you go the method of unloading that land property quickly, right? And you had talked about how you really like realtors, or you choose realtors when getting into land flipping. What is the role of a realtor with land flipping, and why do you like using them?
So we have three different securities for our money. Warren Buffett said, before you invest, try to save your money and not lose it, right? So the first layer of safety for our investment is the offer price. We offer about half of this price. And the second layer is negotiation. On top of the half price, we negotiate again. And right before I close a deal with the title company, this is the third layer. It's a realtor. So realtor play a big important role because they will tell me exactly what's going on with the area, right? Because I don't know about the area. They know best.
Mhm.
And how do we choose the right realtor is the one who actually sold the land nearby. I never search a general area and try to find, Brevard County realtor. I never do that. So I only search for any realtor who sold land in the same subdivision. And I ask them, hey, what is the area? Is there a HOA? Is there any restrictions for building a house? How big is the minimum acre size so that I can build a house? So you ask all this question, and at the end of the conversation, you ask another question, which is, if I list it with you, what do you think the minimum I can get the land sold within a very short period of time? And some realtor will be like, huh? Do you mean maximum? No, I mean minimum. And then after they tell me a price, I ask them, I'm actually buying this land for this price. Do you think there's any chance, any chance at all I would lose my money? So I talked to at least three realtors in that conversation, same conversation. And then I kind of know exactly how much I can sell it before I buy it.
Right. And when you're talking to them, does it come down to like a commission percentage that you're looking for, or you're really looking for the speed part?
Yeah, I'm looking for two kind of characters. First of all, they gotta be professional, right? So if they ask me, Ray, what do you think you can sell the land? Why do I call you if I know all the things, right? And the secondly is they gotta have a good attitude, right? So I have a realtor I work with, and he's really professional. He's been doing land only for 30 years. But every time I talk to him, he yell at me, right? I thought he was talking to someone else. I was like, did he talk to someone else? And he said, no, I'm talking to you, Ray. So those kind is not the one you want to work with. So good attitude and they were professional. That's the one you want to choose eventually.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to work with that either. It doesn't sound like a good working relationship.
Absolutely.
Wow. Yeah, I know because like there's other investors that will just assign or wholesale it to like an end buyer or end developer. Is there any reason you don't get into working with end developers versus realtors? Like because you could have, what are the big ones? DR Horton, name some of the big ones that love coming in with developments.
Mm.
Is there something that isn't as intriguing with end developers?
Absolutely. It's not very intriguing. So because wholesaling, you first of all, you have to constantly find the end cash buyers. So if you only send it to him, he will use you as a bird dog, right? And he will always want to suppress that purchase price. So in each county, if you do wholesale, you have to find cash buyers for that county. And secondly, is about the wholesaling is you have to just keeping a very good relationship with them. It's very complicated. If I sell it to the realtor, they eventually will find the cash buyer eventually if they are very good. And it's highly not scalable at all if you go to multiple markets. Imagine you are in 40 different markets, you have to build 40 county cash buyers. That'd be a lot of work, right?
Yeah.
It's not simple.
Yeah, because again, I know that there's a lot of land investors that specifically will say they'll buy the land and they'll wholesale it out to the end developer or a developer. Like they're like locked in a relationship with developers when they find land lots. And you brought up another, you know it, but you brought up another county in Florida that's really hot for land, Brevard. That's been a yeah. You know it too. It's a crazy county with
Absolutely.
with probate. I will tell you that. Wild county. But Ray, I gotta say, great stuff on going down this list of land flipping simplified, and it just breaks it down in such a way that, like I said on my opening thoughts, there's just some topics and niches that are a mental block for people to get into because they think it's complicated, or they think there's more words that they have to know, or they have to do more research before diving in. But the way you explained it, it's more action taking with the way you did it versus I feel like I got to learn more before I dive in. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like I'm ready to start going on finding the spreadsheets. It's like Mike's ready to go. He's already land flipping. All right. So really just got to say thank you for coming on the show and doing that. And as I've been doing more at the end of the show, just doing some roll call. I love that Teresa's watching. Of course, we got Michael Williams in the house over here. Joe Roig, the Great's on. Shelly's watching. I love that Shelly's watching. I saw Shelly at Land Profit Generator Live. We've done numerous probates and deals with her and John. It's crazy. Dan the man, Daniel Williams is on. I love it. Wednesdays are for probate. You know it. John Manjares. Hey, John, what's going on? John's watching the show. I love it. And Daniel, gotta chalk that up with Michael E. Williams. He said it once before Showtime, and it's never left my head. What was that? Wednesdays are for probate. I love it. Ray, thank you for being on the show. I think it's so great. You've had a huge following watching, and I love what you're doing on TikTok. Keep doing TikTok. If you're not following Ray Jang on TikTok, you got to see it. This is where a lot of people and students and people that are just trying to get into the game are really finding Ray. So you don't want to miss it there. Ray, again, it's been great having you. As I do at the end of the Al Nicoletti Show, I do a segment called Final Words, Final Thoughts. It could be anything, you name it. One word, one sentence. It's really something that you want to reinforce, something that you haven't discussed. And I always do this with every guest. So final words, final thoughts, Ray Jang.
Absolutely. So you mentioned about roadblocks or mental blocks. So that's what I love reading all the time. And a lot of time people think I need to get super ready so I can do this thing. But entrepreneurship or doing your own business, it's just like driving dark with your car. And you can only see so far, right? And just start right now and do more things, learn more things as you go. And that's how you get the finish line. If you try to see the big picture, and that will take you a long time. And when you finally eventually figure it out, the best time is already gone. Good luck with you, right? So you got to start doing right now, make a decision. And no matter what you choose, just stay in that one lane. Don't try to move around. Today I'm doing land. Tomorrow I'm going to do some multifamily. And it's never going to work. That has trapped me for over 6 years doing those things.
Love it. We're going to leave it right there. Ray, again, so happy we got to do this. Finally got you on the calendar for season 4. Keep in touch, man. Hope everything's going well, and keep crushing land like you do.
I will. Thank you so much, Al, and your team. Awesome.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. See you soon, Ray.
See ya.
I don't know about you, but I understand land even more today than before I started the episode. There's something about going through sequential steps like we did with land flipping and land flipping simplified that just really made sense. I'm not an investor. I'm not even in the game. And we got some of the big people doing it, like Teresa and John and Shelly and Joe. Like, there's people that are doing this daily and see what's going on. So I know that there's little golden nuggets that people bring up on the show, like Ray's bringing up golden nuggets that can really help people out there. So if you missed any of the episode, go back, check it out, rewind, go back to the beginning. If you jumped halfway, go back to the beginning. You don't want to miss it. And of course, you can find all the content on the Al Nicoletti Show when you scan the QR code, and you'll find us there. And another night in the Al Nicoletti studio. Thank you, everybody. I hope you got a great dose right there. And we got another great one next week. Just so you know, Stephanie Shepard is coming, and she's going to be on live with the Al Nicoletti team and the Al Nicoletti Show, because she's going to be talking about finding heirs. This is a big one for me. How many people ask me about, I can't locate this heir. We can't find this heir. This is the golden goose, the gem, Stephanie Shepard. You don't want to miss her next Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern. Have a great night, everybody. Take care.